Good morning. Happy Hump Day on this Wednesday, July 24th. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett live here on News 6 Plus and ClickOrlando.com. I'm Bridgett Ellison, going to be with you this morning, and hopefully you got a little bit of beneficial rain last night. We're going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos in a moment. We also have a live interview this morning with Orlando Health. A clinical social worker will join us to talk about when you struggle with being shy or having a little social anxiety, especially in those situations where you know you need to be networking, like a conference or maybe a mixer, and you come out of there and you think, I should have talked to more people, but I just couldn't get off the wall. So we'll talk to a clinical social worker about some tips and guidance to work on doing a little better next time at putting yourself out there a little more. So that's coming up, and we're going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. Now she is in the Pinpoint Weather Center. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Do you tend to be shy, or are you more, just mixing it up in the
No,
room?
I'm always mixing it up. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, you don't need to have a conversation with everybody you meet.
So you're trying to make sure you get to shake every hand. Uh-oh. Where'd she go? Okay, well we'll try to get Candace back. I'm hoping that it's just a little glitch there, so hopefully we can get back to her. But in the meantime, we want to tell you about some of the top headlines this morning. We have oh, wait. Is she back? Hey Candace. She's back. She's back. Hi
It's
there.
the Wi.
Yeah, it's the Wi-Fi.
It's just the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we certainly got a lot of rain yesterday. Bridget, temperatures yesterday were back into those mid 90s. So although temperatures are going to stay pretty much even, maybe add or subtract a couple degrees here and there, it's the rain chances that you will notice kind of the big swing, as we are going to be tapping into some more drier air, and that's going to be helping at least eliminate a little more rain in the forecast. Let's take it to the map, show you what you need to know. Out the door information: the rest of the week is not going to be as stormy. We will see less clouds, therefore we will be seeing more heat. And as of now, it looks like we are going to be taking a nice little break from the Saharan dust over central Florida, although there is plenty of that dust pretty much across the Atlantic. Water vapor imagery showing all that, more of that deep moisture pushing out towards the west. In its place, we're going to replace it with a little bit of drier air that's tracking in from the Bahamas. That's the reason why rain chances for today look like this. So we're at 30% in Cape Canaveral through Cocoa Beach and Melbourne. The only problem is, I know Brevard, you guys have not seen much rain in the past couple of days. We've seen probably upwards about a quarter of an inch within the last week, where places along I-4 and to the west, we've been able to rack up, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of rainfall in some neighborhoods. So rain chances once again are going to be pushing further inland, a little further inland than yesterday. So we had the collision closer towards I-4. Today, that collision is going to be closer towards 75. So as we look here to clouds and rain forecast, a couple scattered showers. You can see the development of that east coast sea breeze pushing into like Sanford. That's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then things will continue to shift further towards the west, developing some of those scattered storms pretty much over Lake and Sumter County. And then really the bulk of the rain will linger along the Gulf Coast counties later on tonight. It's going to be the same story again for tomorrow. So highs for your Wednesday, 94 will be your high. Your coverage, again, depending on where you are, between a 30 to 50%. And then look at all the Saharan dust that is still taking over a big portion of the Atlantic. We have one next plume that just came out now. It's about to approach the Caribbean. And then we have another big batch of it that's going to be coming off the coast. So with that being said, we are going to see kind of some relief from that Saharan dust into the weekend, but some long-range models still hold on to some Saharan dust possibly coming back and filtering back in by early next week. We'll have to kind of iron out those details as we get closer in. But temperatures, though, no matter how you slice or dice it, is going to be another hot couple days. Highs mid-90s, feeling like the triple digits. That's the no surprise part of my forecast.
Yes, and that's kind of been the story. And I know I was joking earlier about how the rain kicked in right after the trash truck rolled through. So now the trash can got sort of a free wash, if
Yeah.
you will. So that's going to be a gross
Yeah.
job.
It's interesting you say that. I have a neighbor, a teenage neighbor, one of her sons, is basically offering to clean garbage cans
Very
through the
nice.
summer.
Very nice.
Right? I thought no one wants to do that. So,
Yeah.
if a teen wants to do it and rack up some money, why not? So I'll
Yeah,
give you his
that
number.
There are companies that do that. I know I got a flyer a couple years ago about a company that can come by and do that, sort of like mobile car wash, because they do get grody.
Yeah,
Ugh. Yeah.
that's cool. You don't think about it, but
Mm-hmm.
it does get kind of nasty, especially when you start adding more water to it.
Yes, of course. But at least the trash was gone when it started to rain at my
Right.
house.
At
It was
least it's
such
been
a,
picked up.
yeah. All righty. Well, thank you, Candace. We'll see you in a
You're
little bit.
welcome.
All right.
Bye.
All right. We're going to check in with Trooper Steve out in Results 1. He's already rolling out for his 8:30 on patrol stream. Good morning.
Good morning. I'll be back in just a second. Results one needs some gasoline. So
Oh.
I was like, let me go knock this out before the next cut in. Most people don't understand. Like, we're scheduled by 5-minute increments for the first several hours of our day. So we got to just cram it in. So I'm pulling into the gas station right now, and then I'll chat with you. I love the idea of a youthful person really making some bucks by cleaning up those nasty trash cans. I used to mow yards as a kid, and back then $20. Now I'm paying hundreds of dollars a month. I wish I was mowing yards these days, right?
Oh, no.
But that's pretty awesome. I had that same mess of water the other day.
Yeah. You just hold your breath and do it.
Yes, it's so gross. It's so gross. So today's stream, we are going to be talking at 8:30 about a situation that could happen to some people. I see that it happens mostly to motorcyclists or people in much smaller cars, but it can happen to others during usually during the evening hours, when those lights don't change and you're trying to make a left somewhere and maybe the light does not go. What are you supposed to do?
Do you flash
We're
your
going to talk
lights?
about that today.
What works?
You know, there are some tricks. There's some tricks of the trade that I'm going to talk about. So 8:30
You rocking your car?
clickorlando.com. You know, hey, I've done the whole like put it in drive real quick and then kind of break it so you could shift the weight out there a little, and it's worked before. So you just have to be kind of aware of the type of intersection that you're at. So 8:30 clickorlando.com. Join me. A little disclaimer: the weather. I'm not feeling the best, so you might get a rare form, Steve, if I see any clowns out there today. But hopefully everyone will take it nice and easy. Bridgett, do you know that Donovan, producer Donovan, now investigator reporter Donovan, put a clown count on my Trooper Steve on patrol? So every time I get upset and I see a crazy driver and I yell out, "Look at the clown," a little clown pops up and is
Bring in the
like
clowns.
with like a googly face. Yes, it's so funny, so funny.
Right.
I'm actually really excited to let you get to your interview because I want to watch this while you're interviewing this. So let me knock out traffic
Alrighty.
with you real quick. I'll give you a minute of traffic. Westbound I-4 looking good in Lake Mary. No crashes. Quick slowdown as you approach Lake Mary Boulevard, but we already know that exists. The drive time really isn't that bad. It's in the red, 24 minutes. Sanford 417 to downtown State Road 50. But it can increase a little bit. So just make sure you're paying attention. Increase that following distance. Kissimmee, we have a crash at Pleasant Hill in 1792, causing some delays along Pleasant Hill. But east to Osceola County, as you make your way into Harmony, US 192, no problems there. And the airport, we've talked about a few things. Need to make sure that you're checking on your flights. Delta has one canceled flight already today, and that could grow. And then westbound, 408, still very slow this morning, but crash free. I'll let you do your thing, Bridgett.
Alrighty.
Talk to that amazing interview. I'm going to stick out and hang out and watch that. So I'll talk to you later.
You don't need any tips on how to get out there and network with no anxiety. All right.
Bye.
See you. All righty. We do have to get to a few headlines this morning, and unfortunately, this one is just really painful to hear about. A local family is in mourning after their beloved father, husband, taken at the hands of a longtime customer in his own store. And News 6's Ezzy Castro has more on how the family is doing and the questions they're asking about why this happened.
The horror that we're going through, the nightmare that we're living through is unspeakable.
The wife of Gizzy Asta speaking to our Molly Reed just days after he was shot and killed in his own jewelry store Volusia Gold and Diamond. Police say surveillance video from the store shows suspect 83-year-old John Krager arguing with Asta before pulling out a gun and shooting him.
Came back a couple weeks ago to sell some jewelry, and my husband wasn't interested, and he wanted to. I think the jewelry was more or less a ruse to start up that bond of relationship with him again.
Lee Asta says her husband was actually friends with Krager and that it was her son who shot back at Krager. The 83-year-old is now facing a first-degree murder charge with a firearm.
And we'll continue to keep you posted on the developments with that story. Another story we want to get to this morning is an initiative that will help people when they are stranded on the side of the road or they break down on the side of the road. It was started by a mom who lost her daughter in a horrible incident after her car broke down. And so she just doesn't want anyone else to go through this pain. And that's why she started a nonprofit aimed at raising awareness. And now there is an initiative to help people get special lights for their vehicles that will help keep them safer when something like this happens to them. Here's Mark Lehman with more.
It's been life-altering, for sure.
For Brooke Staley, these little lights are a special tribute to her daughter Haley, who was killed in 2022.
It's been life-altering, for sure.
Haley was hit by a distracted driver after her car broke down on a road trip. In the months that followed, Brooke transformed her grief into a force for change, creating Haley's Light.
There's so much power, yes, in this light because it's a tool to give added visibility.
Her nonprofit developing the LED safety lights to ensure other drivers see broken down cars to avoid a secondary crash. It comes as Florida has expanded its move over law this year to include any disabled vehicle, and now Haley's Light is teaming up with the Expressway Authority.
That's huge. And see, it makes me emotional. I can't thank them enough. I mean, this means the world, and I feel change.
Road rangers are handing out the lights to drivers they help on the side of the road. Brooke says she sees it as a big step towards bringing awareness about the dangers of distracted driving and something that could prevent another tragedy.
I take each success story of someone using Haley's Light as we saved a life.
And it's so important. That is going to hopefully help keep more people safe out there, especially in the dark too. Sometimes you just really can't see things until you're very close up on them on the road. So that is something that will definitely make a difference. We want to talk about anxiety now in terms of networking and socializing. And some people are extroverted, some people are introverted. Everyone is different, and that's what makes us special. This morning, Kenny Tello, a licensed clinical social worker at Orlando Health, joins us to talk about this. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Bridgett.
You know, we talked a little bit before when you dialed in about how we have different personalities. Everyone is unique. In certain situations, though, we have to push ourselves. Some people have to push themselves a little more than others.
Correct.
And so
And that can be very challenging, specifically for individuals that are more introverted, because just by the nature of their personality, they actually feel drained after many of those social interactions. And it could be networking, it could be going to a conference, it could be speaking in public, or going to an interview.
Mm-hmm. And is it something that sometimes people aren't aware of? They don't know why they feel that way, or they beat themselves up about it. How do you talk to people about this?
So there's many reasons why sometimes individuals have that type of anxiety. Many times it is because they are more in the introverted end of the continuum. Sometimes it's because they have that lack of confidence, maybe because of past experiences that has gotten to the point to where in their mind, that's not something that they're looking forward to. But for the most part, even if you're introverted, for the most part, most individuals have anxiety because they have not practiced enough or they have not exposed themselves enough to those types of situations. So that's one of the things that when I work with individuals who have anxiety, whether it's on public speaking, giving interviews, for instance, or going to interviews, networking, etc., one of the things that I tell them is preparation makes a difference. Because if you don't prepare, just like any sport, if you don't practice enough, then when you go and show up, you're going to be much more anxious because you did not prepare. So many times when I work with them, go ahead and practice your elevator speech, meaning what would you say in the first 15, 20 seconds when you're introducing or you're meeting someone for the first time? And then also have maybe 2 to 3 questions that you like to ask the individual besides what do you do? That is the most common question that we ask when we meet somebody. Of course, is what's your name, and then what do you do? But typical questions such as what makes you so passionate about what you do, or what are some of the things that bring you joy? What are some things that make you fulfilled, or what is the story behind this specific career? Those type of questions, if you notice, those are more open-ended, which is going to lend itself much more to a conversation than you're asking pointed or close-ended questions. Because one thing that I always say is you have to be much more interested than interesting,
Hmm.
meaning listen more than you want to speak. Because for the most part, most people like to talk about themselves anyways. So if you're introverted, you can leverage that anyway.
And sometimes you can be afraid of the silence, and so you just keep going, and out of that nervousness, just trying to find something to fill that quiet space. But you say you can relax.
Absolutely. And when I work with individuals, I actually tell them if you're nervous, pause much more frequently. Because if you don't pause, you're going to fill in the silence with I don't knows, kind of, these kind of filler words that detract from the conversation. So when you pause, when you respect that silence, it actually creates a better flow in the conversation.
And so, like when people are looking for jobs or need to go to a conference, can they, set up an appointment with someone like yourself to try to work on these things? How would you go about getting coaching like that?
Absolutely. So there's different professionals that you can talk to. You can talk to a life coach, you can talk to a career coach, but you can also talk to a counselor. So my recommendation is maybe begin with a life or career coach because that will be much more focused on what it is that you want to work on, whether it's public speaking, whether it's interviews, etc. However, I also want to make mention that maybe your anxiety is not just related to public speaking or interviews or networking. Maybe there are other histories or experiences that has impacted your ability to be present and not so get caught up in your head. At that point, then I would definitely recommend for you to go to counseling and explore what's behind the anxiety because it may not just be anxiety, it might be a diagnosis, it might be a mental health condition that you really want to look at. And really, the interview or the conference becomes the catalyst for you to explore other things that have been going on.
And so, when we talk about, you talked about those techniques of how to sort of converse or how to do public speaking, you have physical symptoms of anxiety. And so, what does that tell your what's happening there when you have those physical symptoms? What are you looking out for, and how can you sort of cope with that?
Of course. And I'm glad you mentioned that because the symptoms of anxiety are almost identical to the symptoms when we are really excited. So, one of the things that I tell people when I work with them is reframe your anxiety to excitement. Because more than likely, maybe that's what it is. You're so excited about the interview, you're so excited about the conference, you're so excited about networking that your body, of course, your heart rate is going to increase, you're going to feel tense, your mouth is going to dry, your perspiration or your breathing is going to change. All of those things that typically we associate with anxiety might be a sign of you're really excited because that is something that is really important to you,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the reasons probably you feel anxious because that's important to you. But if you reframe it as, I'm really excited, more than likely, you're going to look not even forward to the event or the situation, but that's not going to cause you to freeze because that's going to be something that you recognize, okay, this is my body preparing me to do my best when I do this. So more than likely, that actually will push you to do something that you're afraid of.
Mm-hmm. Are there ways you can sort of bring yourself, kind of ground yourself back down, and sort of get get yourself more calm and composed when you feel all of that excitement sort of bubbling over into nervousness?
Yes, so there's a couple of things. Number one is you want to do things that we call priming, meaning what are some things that you do before you actually had the experience. And so one of those things could be walking, stretching, breathing, visualizing success, visualizing that things are going to go well versus which individuals with anxiety that's their go-to, that's the default in some cases. But visualizing success, so that's what you do before. during, make sure that you're noticing the way in which you're breathing and that you are keeping specifically your core relaxed. Because when we are anxious, what happens is we tense up our stomach, we tense up our fists, we tense up our chest, our shoulders, and our breathing changes. And when that happens, then of course everything is going to be impacted. Our nonverbal communication, our verbal communication is going to be impacted. So what I would recommend is in those moments, focus on your breathing. You can be listening to the individual and then just take deep breaths, then purposely relaxing your body. Once again, you can talk to and listen to the individual while you're still relaxing your body. So these are two simple things that are really powerful for you to be able to engage in the conversation without being caught up in your head, and at that point completely losing your train of thought, or that becomes an experience that you're not looking forward to in the future.
And what about dealing with the sort of feeling intimidated and having trouble making eye contact, or your body language being the exact opposite of what you actually want to express? What types of feedback do you give people on how to perform a little better in those types of situations so that they don't sort of close down when they're meeting someone that they may be a little intimidated by or excited to meet, or just having a hard time keeping eye contact?
So there's two things. Number one is you have to remember that whenever you're talking to someone, it's not about you. Meaning you want to connect with the other person and you want to learn as much as you can about the other person. Because when you make it about you, of course, you're going to feel intimidated because you want to make a good impression. You want to be accepted. You want to manage the perception that they have of you. So, number one is recognize that it's not about you. If you're going to be given a presentation for an audience of hundreds or thousands of people, recognize it's not about you. You're there to add value and to hopefully plant seeds with those individuals. So, that's the first thing. The second thing that will be much more practical is record yourself for 2 minutes talking about any topic that you can talk for 2 minutes without having to prepare. It could be your favorite vacation, it could be talking about your kids, your weekend, favorite sport, any of those things. Record yourself for 2 minutes. Once you do that, then play back the recording, but this time mute it, because all you pay attention to the first time, you're going to watch it twice. The first
Mm-hmm.
time that you do, what you do is you're looking only at your nonverbal communication and look to see if you're making eye contact. Look to see what it is that you're doing with your hands. Look to see what's happening with your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing. The second thing that you use that recording is turn on the volume and now put it down on a desk. And all you do is listen to your tone of voice. Now, most individuals actually do not like their tone of voice, but what
No.
I tell them is that's why we hear, anyways. And to an extent, even the accent, the inflections, all of these things that we have makes our voice beautiful, because that's what adds melody to the voice. Same
Mm-hmm.
thing like a song, for instance. And so when you're listening to it, don't listen to for any of the tone of voice or any of that. So really what you're listening for is the pauses, the the other filler words that maybe don't really need to be there. And so once you know, okay, here's my nonverbal communications, here's my tone of voice, then you can pick one or two so that you can purposely begin to rehearse and practice. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where a life coach or even a career consultant can come into play, because that is then their job to say to you, this is what I'm noticing. Why don't you do this? Why don't you
Mm-hmm.
change this? Or you think that you're speaking too loud when in reality you're not. And that's sometimes what I've noticed when I work with introverts. I tell them, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, you're speaking at a 3. I need you to speak at a 7.
Uh-huh.
And they say, but I feel like I'm screaming. And I'll tell them, you're not. Because when you keep speaking at a 3, actually comes off like you lack confidence and you're
Mm-hmm.
insecure.
Mm-hmm.
Speak at a 3. I'm sorry, speak at a 7, because
Mm-hmm.
right now you're at a 3. So these are the things that they can actually work on just with a 2-minute recording.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's on your phone. Nobody has to watch it. You can delete it. You may cringe after watching it a few times, but the whole
Yeah.
point is for you to assess yourself and then be able to work on those things.
Well, Kenny, this is great information, and I'm so encouraged to hear all the ways that we can work on this, and then seek out professionals like you to get that help. And then if we need more help, it can be treated, and it can make such a difference. And so we even had a story today about how the risk of dementia is lowered by treating your anxiety if it's something that really needs treatment. So this is encouraging. So
Correct.
where can we go to get some more information?
So you can go to our website, the orlandohealth.com/um, Content Hub. And there you can find articles specifically on this topic, anxiety, depression, and many other ones. And you can actually search by topic.
Awesome. Awesome information. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. Well, we have jobs coming to Central Florida, and you may have seen their ads at Kia Center, the airport, and Make Ends Meet producer Robert Brewer has more about what the company calls cyber heroes.
We have cyber hero in training, cyber sidekick, cyber hero, super cyber hero.
CEO Danny Jenkins says ThreatLocker protects more than 46,000 companies from data breaches and ransomware.
What happens is somebody will get onto one of their systems, they'll get somebody to open an email, download an attachment, and then it'll encrypt all their files and then demand a ransom. And that is happening to thousands of companies every day in America.
Jenkins says the cyber attacks have been increasing due to the Russian-Ukrainian war.
When Russia managed to isolate themselves from the world, all of these smart IT people that were previously working for American companies all got let go.
Where do they go?
And they go to crime, essentially, but cybercrime.
And to counter the cybercrime, ThreatLocker is constantly hiring. News 6 was there as he welcomed 52 new employees.
52 people started this month so far, and there was 40-something last month.
And to put that in perspective, we interviewed Jenkins and his then 6th grade son about an iPhone flaw back in 2019.
Back then, we had 5 employees in 2019.
And now they have close to 500.
How did you manage such a jump in 5 years?
There's 2 reasons to it. One is we've created a solution to a real problem. Our core focus is on what's called zero trust, which means we're going to look for what's needed in your business and we block everything else. We back that up with the best customer service in the industry. I think our average response time is 23 seconds, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, right here out of our Orlando headquarters.
Robert Brewer, Getting Results, News 6.
All right, we're out of time, but before we go, make sure you enter to win those Monster Jam tickets at clickorlando.com and check that out. I'm going to let you go now to Weatherwise with meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, followed by Trooper Steve on patrol.